Good day and welcome to another tutorial. We are going to be looking at creating a customizable uh, character using multiple layers. I had already done a tutorial, but there were things that I'd left out, and also there was some stuff I kind of did wrong, which gave me a lot more problems down the line. So this is a fresh new one. I've deleted the last tutorial, and I'm using a pack from the Unity Asset Store called Customizable Pixel Art Character Kit, which has animated characters in all 8 directions for isometric, and each of these parts are customizable. So the hair, the shirt, the lower clothing, the shoes, the eyes, all of that stuff can be customized. And here we see that we've got separate layers of our skin, eyes, hair, shirt. In this case, they say skirt, but that could be pants, and shoes. And combining them all together into a sprite sheet, we get a single sprite. I used to do this in a really roundabout, bad way in the past where my player was just an empty game object. It's got an animator and a sorting group, and that's it on there. And then under it, I've got all the sprite renders. So I've got the hair back, and the order and layers are how I'm stacking it from back to front. So 0 for the hair back, then the skin comes next, then the shoes, the pants, the shirt, the eyes, and the front hair. All of that gets compressed down to order and layer 0 with the sorting group component. Now, this gets a little tricky because each of these sprite renders needs to be animated. I can have an animator on each one, but that's just going to be more trouble down the line. So on the player, I had the one animator, and if you go into the animation, you would need to have, so this is, we've got the back, pants, skin. Now let's do shoes. What else do we need? Shoes. I don't have shirt, so shirt. Hair front. And I believe that should be all. So hair back and front, pants, shirt, shoes, skin, eyes. Eyes. Okay, once I have that set up, as you can see, I now need to go and add the sprites, the keyframes for the sprites. So our character pack has all of these folders, and so for instance on the, let's do shoes. I don't have anything for shoes yet. Let's go to the shoes folder, and here we've got a sprite sheet for shoes. These are a pair of gray, I don't know, normal shoes, probably lace up shoes. And I know that for those shoes, or for all the sprite sheets, from 1 to 8, those are the animations for the front version. So if I do this, I can see that I've got the shoes there, and the shoes can animate now. But the hair is still not animated. The eyes aren't animated. We've got still a bunch of more animations to do, which means you have to go into each graphic you want, slice it up, make sure that you get that pivot point in the right place. So if you want the feet, you have to make sure that on every single one, the pivot point's in the right place. And then you get all of it loaded in here. And then you have to go and do the next version. So here's the back. And I have to do all of that over for 8 different directions. The other problem that we're going to find is that what if I want to do it customizable, that someone can change the shirt later down the line? I'm not going to be able to access the keyframes in here to change the sprites on the shirt at runtime. So this is not a good method. Then what if you want the character to fade in and fade out? Like they get to a door, you want to do a little fade out animation. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to take the color and fade it down. And you can see here that with the hair, that the layers are sort of showing through each other. And that kind of makes sense because the each and every single renderer is rendering each one transparent. So all of them kind of start to blend together and it looks like a mess. So that doesn't work. Set our skin back. So I needed a new way to do this. I've chosen a whole bunch of these textures from the pack and I'm going to use them in this tutorial folder. What I've done for the skin, the pants, and the shirt is that I was able to strip the color out of it and just have it as a grayscale. So this is the skin, the shirts. So I've got a bunch of different shirts here. And I've tinted them towards white. Forget the purple buttons, but I've tinted them towards white so that I can change the colors at a later date. It's more tricky with the hair because the hair has highlights and other stuff, and it can be done. It just takes a little bit more setup. The setup on the old way took a while because of the prepping of all of those graphics. Then you're hit with hurdles of not being able to change things at runtime. So we're going to work on a new way of doing this where on all of these things, I have it set up for multiple sprite mode and point mode for the filter and no compression because those two are for pixel art. For this to work, the mesh type has to be at full rect. Next is the skin. The skin is sliced up. And I'm just going to grab the first one of our player. There we go. And we've got a sprite render. Let's call this player. I'm going to add an animator to it. And I've already got an animator set up, but we can just briefly look at what it is. It's just the player sprite doing its walk. And I've got the back version as well. So front and back. In the animator, I have a boolean to turn on front and back. I hate when that happens. Close tab, animation, animator. There it is. Okay, so we just switch back and forth. This is just for demo purposes. I'm gonna change something with this sprite though, where for isometric stuff, I tend to like to have. Let's test it here. Somewhere like this. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to slice it again. And this is just 9 by 8. Custom. Paste. Slice. So now everyone has their pivot point in the right place. All right. But we see that messed up this one. So now I have to go to all of those graphics and make sure to do the pivot point in the right place for those. So we're seeing how much work and how much trouble that's going to be to have that. Let's go back to our scene. Take the two of these, move them down. Now, I want to start doing the layering. The layering is not done using the sprite renderers. It's done using a shader graph. Let's create a new shader graph. URP. I don't care about lighting, so I'm going to do a sprite unlit. And let's just call it good version shader. With that shader still selected, I'm going to go create material, good version material. And since the shader was, where is it? Here it is. Since the shader was selected when the material was created, we get the material set up for that shader. Now, the shader. We're going to need all the different layers. If I want to get whatever's coming out of the animation, which is the skin, to come into the shader, that's when I'm going to use a texture 2D, and this will be main text, and it's set up within Unity that it's going to reference underscore main text, and that's just whatever the animator was pumping out will come in through this. Push that down in there. Okay, we're going to need a couple of things in here. Let's just do a quick test on this. Main text into a sample texture 2D, and that I can just stick into my base and the alpha into the alpha. Save this, and we can see now that that is good. We see in the material now main text has been shown up. I don't need to see main text. That's coming from the animator. Sorry about that. That's coming from the animator. So this I can say don't bother showing an inspector. And save that. All right. Now we're going to start layering things, and we're going to be working from top to bottom, the top being the stuff that's in the back, and the bottom being the things in the front. The things we're going to need are, well, let's actually just create this stuff that we need. We're going to need a bunch of textures. We've got the main text. I've got the hair back, hair front, shoes, sorry, skin is main text. Then we do the shoes, we do the pants, oops, we do a shirt, we're going to need the eyes, and lastly, oh, nope, no lastly, because we already have hair front. Delete. So we're stacking it as the back, the skin, the shoes, the pants, the shirt, the eyes, and then the hair front. However, I want to have something a little bit more fancy. I'm going to say I want to float, and this is going to be shirt out, because we've got some shirts that can be worn on the inside or the outside. Then we're going to need some colors. This will be our shirt color. We're going to need skin color. And the pants color. Okay, that shirt out being a float, we're going to get into that a little later, but we've got our textures coming in. We've got our shirt out. We've got our colors. I believe we've got everything that we need to come into the material, into the shader. And I'm just going to take these and disconnect that. So the things that we're going to need are sample texture 2Ds for each of these. Actually, let's do it here. So we're going to have the hair color back is the first thing being rendered. This is at the top. Next down is the skin, then the shoes, then the shirt and the pants. Now I want to, like I said, reverse whether the shirt's in or out. So I'm going to put them over here for now. We got our pants. And our shirt. Next, coming under that is the eyes. And the hair front. All right. The way that we're going to get these to blend together is I'm going to be using a lerp. And I'm going to lerp from the, actually, let's try another one. Let's try, no, lerp. Lerp's what I want. I'm going to come from here, and the next one is the skin texture. Now the skin texture is going to be colored, so I want to grab our skin color. We're going to be using a multiply. Right. So the color is going to be multiplied with whatever skin color we use. That's going to go into our lerp. But the lerp, the alpha of this lerp comes from, not the alpha, but the blending of the lerp comes from the alpha of whatever the second input is. Whatever B is, we get that. So we're going to keep on using lerps all the way down. The next is the shoes. So that's going to come out from here. Lerp, and this is lerping into B slot. We're going to take the output from this lerp into here. And like I said, the blend of the lerp comes from the alpha of the second one. Let's shift this across. The next one down is the trickier one. It's these guys over here. So these guys are going to lerp together. So let's come out to a lerp. And he's lerp A. And you are B, and we use your alpha. However, I'm also going to come out here. I'm doing another lerp, but this time this went in A, this is now going into B, this now goes into A, and I'm taking the alpha from this one. So these two lerps are swapped. Once again, another lerp. This time A and B, and what blends them this time is that float. Skin color. Sorry, shirt out is the blend on that. I need to get alphas and everything, all the colors for our next lerp, because this guy here is going to come down and he is lerp A. I'm getting all the information out of that, but I need an alpha as well. So I'm going to come here and do a split, where I'm just going to grab the alpha channel. That's all I need from there. Right. That goes into this one. Then we keep moving down with the rest. Oh, I also forgot these guys are going to have our colors. So this is shirt color, pants color, shirt, pants, multiply. So that goes to A, that goes to B. this guy, multiply. This goes to A, this goes to B, and now we've got our color for our shirt and pants. Okay, moving back down. This lerp is going to go into another lerp, which is going to be that and alpha from the second one. We can then come out of here to another lerp, and we're getting to the bottom now. And we're going that and the alpha. And then that can now factor into here, where we're going to need to do another split so that I can get my alpha and that. But there's something else I want to be able to add. We weren't able to do any fading with the previous one, with the alpha channel, because of the different sprite renderers. Each of them were 50%, so each one is see-through to the next one below it. That didn't work, but I'm going to add another float, which I'll call alpha. Up here, I can switch this up to be a slider, max 0, default value is 1, and we're going to bring this in now and do a multiply from the split. Oops, that should go there, that goes there, and now we can take this out to our alpha, and this now will fade on the alpha. The base color is this. It's not separate layers. All of them have been combined to get this base color. So the alpha is going to be on all of them combined as one graphic. Got everything done now. Should be able to save this, and let's go back and start setting up our player. So the second that we go and swap out the material, things will start looking messy, but don't worry. It's because down here, we've got a whole bunch of empty channels. We've also got our colors set to different colors. So I'm going to make a green shirt, a skin color that is the same peach color, and the pants will be bluish. Blue. Let's go with that. All right. I'm just going to grab one of our hairs. Hair A is front and B is back. And one of the things to notice about these textures is I didn't have to slice them. I didn't have to set up their pivot point, nothing. Shoes, grab a pair of shoes. Pants, grab a pair of pants. Shirt, let's grab, it's this one. And then eyes, grab a pair of eyes. And there we go. So that is our character fully combined. Each of these, which we can access in our code, can be changed. The shirt out, we can see, oh, I might have to flip that. So shirt out, and we can just flip it in this one here. That to that, that to that. Save. So when that's at 1, the shirt is out, 0, shirt is in. You can switch a bool to a float easily just by doing something in the code, which I did do, and I'll show you later down. And then the alpha. When we fade this, we're not getting that messy blending of different layers like we had with the other character. So this works really well once you've got all of that set up. It doesn't make sense if it's just a really simple character, but what we can do now is change things on the fly. I've got my animator where all we did was we had the skin put in. The skin sprite is what was sliced with the pivot point. It's all set up, and Here's the back version and the front version, and it's just that one animation driving everything. If I was to play this, and let's go to our animator, and we've got that parameters back. So if I flip it, so the animations work good, the animator works as expected, everything's working fine. I didn't have to slice any of these textures up. It just gets all of that information from the initial animation, which is the skin. Pause that. Now let's look at some other stuff I've got here. Nice little canvas with some stuff set up. We've got pants, shirt, shoes, eyes. On that canvas, I have a bunch of lists. So I've got 2 different types of hair. I set up a new class so that I'd have hair front, hair back in each element. Got my shoes, I've got different pants, I've got different shirts, I've got different eyes, I've got the shirt out. I've got all of that set up in this canvas, and that can be accessed at runtime. So let's take a look at how I set up what's going on. Here's all the lists. I'm using a material property block, and I haven't set up anything for the colors yet, but I have set up for the shirt out. So these are the buttons, and all the buttons do is say, they're all pretty much the same. Increase the index, so I'm tracking the index number. Increase the index number of the pants if that index number is greater than pants count minus 1, or I could just say is equal to pants count, then pants index equals 0. I'm sending off to this method down here called change texture, and this word here, pants, that comes from inside the shader graph. If we look here, we're going to see that our reference is underscore pants. That's where I get that from. So you have to make sure that all of these match up with what's happening inside of the shader graph. So the pants, and I'm getting the list, and I'm grabbing the pants index. That's going to take the texture 2D from the list. Make sure these are texture 2D and not sprites. Then down here, we've got our change texture, and we're taking what type it was. It's the pants. We're taking the texture. We're taking the property block, setting the texture of that type to texture. Then I send it off to the player. I'm sending that property block off. My player script just basically says, get a reference for the sprite renderer. And on the sprite renderer, we're going to set the property block to whatever property block sent in. I had to do a little bit differently for the hair because the hair has the front and the back, but it's the same, just send a property block. The shirt out, I'm using a bool so that when I click on the checkbox, it'll come in true or false. I'm setting the property block to an int where shirt out is going to be, if it's true, it's 1, otherwise it's 0. That's because we cannot do set bool with a property block. That's why in the shader, I used a float instead of a bool. Player, change texture, and I send the property block off. So everything on there should work fine. On the player, I need to add the player script, and on the canvas, here's where the player is going to be linked. Now this is just for demo purposes. You can use a singleton method. You can use whatever method you want to send that property block to the player so that you don't have this kind of coupling like that. Now let's hit play, and fingers crossed everything should work. What is this? Don't need that. The messed up version on the right, you can't really do much with that, but Um, something about the graph. Oh, yeah, that, that comes up every once in a while. All right, our pants. I can swap through. Now, there's one pair of pants. I don't know why this one does that. It's very awkward that that does that. So long skirt, shirt. So we can have a button-up shirt where the shirt, I can have shirt out, our shirt in. So I can change that around. Shoes, I can swap the shoes. I can switch the eyes. So I've got two different eye colors. I can do the hair. And like I said, I haven't set anything up in here for colors, but the colors over here, if I click on the player, you can access them through the material. And it's just as easy. In the property block, you just do set color instead of set texture or set float. You can use set color. So yellow, all of that's accessible. This means that at runtime, rather than me pulling, so from here I'm pulling a texture from one of these lists. So the pants list, I'm pulling a texture from here. You can at runtime download a graphic, convert it to a texture 2D, and then directly inject that texture 2D. So you can have your skins being changed online. You can also have a way of doing this that if you had a library saved in a game manager, so you have lists like this in a game manager, and you're saving the index of each of these. So I might be on index 1 for here, I might be on index 2 for shoes, index 3 for pants. I can save that index number. When the character loads, it loads the index number, goes and finds a texture, and changes your player at runtime. So this makes customizing our game object, our graphics, so much easier and so much better than if we were to just use this stupid method that I used to use. Um, and you can, like I said, grab the alpha, and if you're using do tween or whatever, you can animate your character fading in and fading out. Or maybe when they get to low health, they're kind of like a little invisible, whatever you want. Um, and I guess that's it for this tutorial. I can't think of anything else that needs to be shown. Hopefully this is helpful, and the setup that you do at the beginning gives you a lot of payout at the end, whereas in the old method, the setup you do in the beginning really doesn't do anything but give you more headaches at the end. So that's it, and I will see you in my next tutorial. Thank you.